Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Lee, and today our topic is balancing the brain and the nervous system with the Brio living method or the Brio living philosophy. So that was quite a mouthful. More specifically, I'm actually going to be talking more about mental health, so balancing mental health and immunity simultaneously. And we're going to unpack this over about 3 different steps. Okay, so my goal at the end of today's mastermind or Facebook Live, my goal at the end of this video is to help you feel more grounded and less anxious. Okay, so in case, like I said earlier, in case you don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Lee, and I'm a self-proclaimed health geek. I love to learn, and I love to learn kind of old information about health, and I love learning a lot of the new information about health. I've studied both, Chinese medicine, and I'm also, keeping up as current as I can on what's happening in science there. So I'm the guy that has, I think a lot of patients call me the guy with all the different solutions because I treat pain with like acupuncture, adjustments there. I promote healthy eating. I treat all sorts of ailments, digestive health. I treat skin issues. Just a variety of different ailments. And it's because I love to help people feel better as much as possible through, natural means there. That's what I really enjoy doing. So I'm really passionate about bringing this topic to you. And I'm passionate in studying, brain and mental health there. My sincerest desire is for you to, listen to this information, but more importantly, take action. I want you to help you feel more grounded and less anxious, especially around what's going on right now in this time. Okay, are you guys ready? Okay, let's get started. Hi Romy, thanks for thanks for your comment there. So actually, at any time, please feel free to just write a comment, ask a question. If I can answer some of these live, I'll try to. If not, I'll go back into the comments and I'll answer them a little bit later. Okay, so the 3 questions I want to support you with are, I want you to think about this. Number 1, what are my current emotions right now? And this is called my assessment phase there. Number 2, do I understand why I'm feeling these emotions? That's what I'm calling processing stage. And then number 3 is, what can I do today to feel better? And that's what I'm calling the action plan. So again, these are the 3 things that we're going to cover today. Number 1, what are my current emotions? Do I understand why I'm feeling these emotions? And what can I do today to feel better? Okay, so to give you maybe a little bit more context of, what is the Brio living philosophy? If you haven't had a chance to see Dr. Nitu's video, I think it was about 2 or 3 Saturdays ago, she kind of elaborated a lot more on the Brio living philosophy or the Brio living program. I'm going to do this a little bit. I'm going to spend a bit of time doing that today. And I'm going to keep it a little bit short, but throughout this, next few times that I'm going to be communicating with you, my goal is to teach you a little bit more of what this approach is. So the Brio living philosophy, this is what we do at our clinic to guide patients towards optimal health. It's what I call like a roadmap or a journey to help them really transform their health. And we start off with a garden analogy. And actually on our website, and I'll put a link on my summary, but when you get a chance to go to our website at yourbriohealth.com, and in the About section, there's a small video. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes, and it's a great animation that really summarizes what I'm about to say right now. So in our garden analogy, we have 4 phases. We've got the weeding phase, we've got the seeding phase, the feeding phase, and then the thriving phase. Now, we're going to talk about, let me kind of break it down a little bit more. So the weeding phase, this is Like the weeds represent symptoms, symptoms of pain, symptoms of, discomfort, whatever ailments you have. That's what the weeds represent. And we want to help you get rid of those weeds. But we're going to go a step further and help you understand, why do these symptoms keep recurring? And one of the things in the weeding section is the byproduct of weeds is because of unhealthy soil. So in the weeding phase, we're going to help you clean up that soil. We're going to help you identify and assess what's really, underlying everything. Okay, so that's the weeding phase. The seeding phase, this is where we're tilling the soil. We're starting to explore root causes, and we're helping you understand, what's out of balance in your body. These systemic imbalances, and they range from, are you not having enough good nutrition? Is there too much inflammation in your system? Are the hormones out of balance in your body? Do you need to detoxify your body? So these systemic imbalances, we're going to help identify your own unique imbalances. So that's really what happens in the seeding phase. And I think the other positive thing in the seeding phase is this is when we start establishing some really healthy habits for you. Now, let's move on to the feeding phase. The feeding phase is definitely like a deeper healing. And I like to explain this as sort of breaking through this stuckness you might be experiencing, breaking through a lot of your limitations and your fears. And this is where we are looking to help you balance different parts of your life. By this stage, a lot of our patients are much better off with what they originally came in for. But this is where we help them explore, how are other aspects? How are your relationships? How are your relationships with other people, relationships with finances, relationships with, other parts of health or other parts of life that really impact your health. And in the feeding stage, this is where I help patients really see that true potential of what being healthy can be like. This is a very exciting phase. And to be honest with you, I think in our culture, most of us, when we go and see a doctor or when we think about health, we're primarily only in that weeding or seeding phase, only that first two phase. But I think what's quite exciting when I get to journey with my patients, when we kind of move into that feeding phase, and then ultimately moving them into that thriving phase. This is when patients or people are living their true, authentic self. There's this sort of outward manifestation to help others. I call it the outward blessing towards other people. And there's such a true balance in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So that's this, the thriving is like that in Maslow's hierarchy. It's when you're that self-actualization. This is really exciting to guide patients towards the thriving phase. So I hope that gives you a little bit of just the framework of how I am approaching today's talk there. We're going to focus mainly on that weeding phase. And with that weeding phase framework, my goal is to help you better understand your mental health as well as your immunity. And I'm going to help you explore things a little bit deeper, but I want you to walk away from this talk with also an action plan. And so, like I said earlier, this is going to be now a 4-part series on mental health and immunity. And we're going to zero in on the weeding phase, which is really taking an inventory of how you're doing, taking a thorough assessment. Okay, so now that I've given you sort of that context, let's dive in. We're going to go in a bit deeper. So what I'd like you to please do is think about what are your current emotions right now. And right now, what I mean is we're all, as a community, we're all going through this world pandemic right now. And I've said in some of my other talks there that we're all, or some of us are just handling this they're having a lot of difficulty right now, and I really want I want us as a community to support one another, and to just help each other along the way. But I also want to remind us that it's important for us in our self-care is to really check in on ourselves. So in this first part of what are your current emotions right now, I'm going to spend a bit of time defining emotions. I'm going to talk a little about distressing emotions, and I'm also going to talk about some positive emotions. Okay, so so what are emotions? Now, emotions are the feelings that we all experience. So feelings such as fear, sadness, anxiety, but also feelings like love, hope, happiness. Those are all called emotions. And emotions help us survive. And what I mean by that is, when you feel fear, that alerts you to danger. Love, helps us connect or helps us bond with people that keeps us safe. And joy leads us to the people, and joy leads us to the activities that really make us feel good. So emotions help us enjoy, they help us understand, and they really help us kind of thrive in our world. And we all express emotions differently. And our emotions, it really depends on our upbringing, it depends on our culture, it depends on our personality. And emotions actually depend on our own genetics and even our past experiences. Oh, hi Linda, hi Melinda. I see all you guys joining right now. Welcome. I'm gonna share a little bit about a bit of my experience. But before I do that, my question to you is what was your family like growing up? Were you taught to express your feelings and express your emotions, or were you taught to suppress your feelings? For myself, growing up in maybe a conservative Chinese culture, emotions weren't talked about a lot. And maybe for you, have you heard of people saying boys don't cry? I think that was the culture that I grew up in, and I wanted to maybe plant that question in your mind. Think back to your childhood, and just what was taught to you about emotions, and that might give you a glimpse of maybe what you're feeling right now, or how come you're reacting to this in a certain way. Okay, well, we'll explore that further a little bit. But just to share with you a little bit of my story. So I had a very unique childhood, and I've shared with many of you that I grew up with an older sister who was both mentally as well as physically disabled. And I personally went through a whole gamut of different emotions around growing up with a sister with a disability. I remember times where my emotions were sometimes around, embarrassment or shame. Or sometimes my emotions were around protection and maybe anger, because I felt very very angry when people were teasing my sister. But I also experienced emotions around joy and laughter with my sister. And I think one of the things that I learned from my sister and us growing up is, she had a very difficult childhood. She had a lot of different surgeries, and she had a lot of pain. And although she may not have physically, or she may not have voiced how she was feeling, you could see it in her face, you could see it in her body language. And there's no mistake when you can see that fear or that pain on her face. But I also, I also really remember those excellent, moments of happiness and joy. My sister taught me a lot about, how to really enjoy the moment and just really, yeah. You can really see it in her face when she's happy. She definitely has this sort of happy-go-lucky attitude right now, and it's fantastic. So I want to shift over now. I want to talk about what are distressing emotions. And the reason why we're spending some time talking about emotions is I want to give you some words to attach to what you're feeling right now. And distressing emotions really range from, fear, anger, anxiety, sadness. And I'm going to take a moment to unpack that a little bit because there's a difference between anxiety and fear. So when I was preparing for this talk, I was just looking up a few definitions, and I like this one. Fear, it's an emotion that is focused on a specific external thing. I'll say that again. Fear is an emotion that is focused on a specific external thing, like a spider, like a snake, or even like a virus. So you're focused on that external thing. Now, anxiety is more internal and it's more diffuse. So anxiety is more internal and more diffuse. And the response to anxiety is it's an imagined or it's an unlikely threat. And sorry, I'll say that again with maybe a bit more clarity. Anxiety is a response to an imagined or an unlikely threat. So it's our brain's way of anticipating something negative in the future. It's our brain's way of anticipating something that's negative in the future. And I want to say it this way. If we let anxiety overcome us, it can definitely snowball and paralyze us. And later on, I'll discuss some strategies that we can do together to help us kind of keep anxiety in check. So again, the anxiety is that anticipated, it's not something that's really happening. It's our brain kind of making sense of it, and it's just that something that's negative that's about to happen. So I just wanted to differentiate that fear and that anxiety. Now, what I'm going to do right now is switch gears, and we're going to talk a little bit more about positive emotions. So positive emotions are happiness, joy, love, and gratitude. And when we experience more positive emotions, research has definitely shown that we live longer, we have less strokes and heart disease. When we have positive emotions, we have less cortisol release. And cortisol is that stress hormone in the body. And that's so important to help us have a more robust immune system. So feel-good emotions are correlated with better mental health. And I read something this morning that said it this way. So feel-good emotions or positive emotions are sort of like a buffer in the times of distress. And the author said it's sort of like a psychological immunization. And I'll say this again. So feel-good emotions are a buffer in times of distress, a sort of psychological immunization. And it stimulates us to engage in the very behaviors that feed positive emotions, creating an upward spiral. So right now, this is a good time. We're talking a lot about immunization, viruses, and all that. And I like how this author said it. It's a sort of like that psychological immunization, and it gives us that buffer. So we're going to talk a little bit more about gratitude. And so what is gratitude? So gratitude, it's the feeling you get when you receive something, a gift, an action, or an experience that somebody else gave you freely, and it's often costing them some time, some energy, or some money. So gratitude is that feeling you get when you receive something, a gift, an action, an experience that someone else gave freely, often costing them time, energy, or money. Now, when I first learned about gratitude years ago, we learned it more as a passive emotion. You kind of reflect on things. You take the time to reflect on things that you're grateful for. But right now, what's interesting is gratitude is now seen more of like an energizing emotion. So, researchers are saying that when you watch somebody be very charitable, you watch somebody that helps somebody else, it stimulates different parts of the brain. It stimulates that circuitry in the brain that feels good. And in turn, you actually want to do good. You want to kind of repeat that action. You want to be more charitable. And that causes sort of a positive chain reaction there. So, like I said, with the research there, and looking at that research, so my question was, well, can we cultivate this gratitude? And most definitely. So, some of the research even in 2003, there's one study on keeping a gratitude journal, and these people in the study, they would just simply write down blessings or things that they were grateful for. They just did it once a week, and they did it every week for 2 months. And compared to the control study, they just wrote down rather neutral observations. And they definitely, when they ran their surveys and all that, they definitely saw that people that were more intentional at writing down gratitudes, they ended up having more of an optimistic view in life. They ended up sleeping better. They ended up exercising more compared to just people with neutral observations. So guess what? Later on in the action plan, I am going to recommend that we together do a gratitude journal. And I'll share with you how I do it. So now that we've taken a bit of time to talk about emotions, I'm going to now talk about, I'm going to share with you some ideas that you can do. So in this weeding phase, where we've taken an inventory of what emotions and what feelings are, we're now going to take a little bit of a deeper dive to understand your emotions. What are you currently feeling right now? So the two questions here are what are you currently feeling, and what can you control in your current situation? Okay, so in the weeding phase of this health journey, we're supporting your mental health as well as your immune health simultaneously. And again, my goal is to help you feel more grounded and less anxious during these times. So now, what I want you to do is right now just listen along, but I invite you to just, when you get a chance to, please rewatch this video because I'm in this next section, I'm going to give you a couple of steps. And again, you can I'll summarize this on our website as well, but I'm going to give you some action steps right now. And so my question is, what are you currently feeling? And so step one, what I'd like you to do is take out a piece of paper or your journal and make a list of all the emotions that you're experiencing right now during this disruption to your life, during this pandemic, during kind of this change in the routine, during this time when you're off work. Write down all your emotions. And, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling angry? Or are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling a bit of peace right now? Maybe you've got a bit more time on your hands there. Or are you really worried for a loved one? So please just be honest with yourself and carefully just read through all of the words that you're writing down. It's such a powerful exercise when you're actually writing it down. And I'm going to invite you to actually physically write it out and not type it on a computer. There's just something that's quite amazing with us, writing something and having that deeper connection into the brain there. So that's step one, write it down. Now, step two, what I'd like you to do is take a look at the words there and just assess, are these feelings appropriate to what you're experiencing right now? Is it realistic, what you're feeling? And I think this is really important. I guess what I'm asking is, are you feeling like maybe this level of extreme fear and anxiety? Is that appropriate to what you're feeling right now? Yeah, just put a little bit or try to make sense of what you're feeling. And I think for a majority of you, it's probably an accurate assessment. But for some of us, just really unpacking those words a little bit more and making sure, does this make sense right now? Is this an appropriate reaction to what you're feeling? And maybe if some of these words are not maybe congruent, or there's a bit of disconnect, you're not really understanding why you're feeling this, maybe take a little bit of a journey back to childhood, or think about some experiences where there's some traumas in life in the past that keeps you maybe a little bit more on edge, or I've talked to some people recently that are just really, really angry right now, and they're just really, really bitter. They're angry with what they're seeing happening. They're angry with what the government's doing. Explore that. So that's step two. And then what I'd like you to do in step three is just ask this question: is there anything that you can be grateful for at this moment? Is there anything that you can be grateful for at this moment? So those are the three things I'd like you to just spend a little bit of time. Just step one, make a list of all the emotions that you're feeling right now. Step two, just assess, is what you are feeling appropriate? Is what you're feeling realistic? And then number three is there anything that you could be grateful for, or that you are grateful for at the moment? Now, the next thing that I want you to think about is, in this situation, what can you control right now? What are you able to control? So the things that I can control is, I can control my time. I can control how much time I'm watching the news. I can control my routines and my habits there. And for those of you who maybe haven't seen it, I think it was about a week ago, I did another Facebook Live talk all about habits and routines and how powerful they are. And in fact, how we as humans, we really thrive on routines. As much as some of us don't like it, we're actually, a lot of what we do is on autopilot. So a lot of the disconnect we're feeling is because we're thrown off of our routine. So that's something that I can control right now. I can control my routine. Can you control your nutrition? Yeah, most definitely. Can you control your level of exercise? Yes, most definitely. And definitely exercise, nutrition, those can have such profound impacts on both your mental and your physical health. And please take a look at all our other Facebook Lives, because the other doctors, Dr. Vanessa, Dr. Karen, Dr. Nitu, and myself, we're all we're sharing different ideas that you can do to make better decisions, and ideas of deep breathing. We're talking about ideas of how to even what to cook right now that's really nourishing for the body. So So this is what I want you to explore. What can you control in your current situation right now? And again, like I said, you can control a lot of things right now. And think through that and make a list of what you can control in your own environment. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears and we're going to go into this last section here. And the last section of this weeding phase plan is really sharing with you my action plan. And I hope this can spur you to create your own action plan. Now, based on what you've learned from some kind of taking that honest inventory, I just wanted to say this. If you are in a really difficult time, if you're in a really dark place right now, I really want you to reach out to me, please. Send us an email or reach out to us, because I want to put you in touch with just different resources or even the right people that can really help you, especially if this is really overwhelming for you right now. So I just want to make that really clear. Please honestly reach out to us. Now, for those of us that are, feeling maybe the anxiety, the blues, and we're just looking for strategies of just, getting out of that, you're going to hear some things that I'm doing right now. Now, like I said, we're exploring the weeding phase in this 4-part series, and I'm actually really excited about the next series, which is the seeding phase. I will be sharing with you more creative ideas. We're going to do a little bit more. Yeah, I'll be able to share with you more tips and more steps. And these are the things that I guide my patients into achieving that optimal health there. So just to give you a glimpse of things that I want to share about in the seeding phase is I'll probably talk about, understanding your own personality a little bit more, understanding what your tendencies are. And I'll share with you some of the online, personality tests that I've done and what I've learned from that. So that's a little bit later, probably in a couple of weeks, we'll dive into that. But right now, let's make this kind of as actionable as possible for you. So I have a few things that I'm doing every day and every week that I find is incredibly grounding and just helps me, stay focused and helps me be less anxious overall. I have a daily habit of what I call breathe, journal, play, and pray. Okay? I don't always do it in that same order, but this is something that I commit to doing every morning there. And for those of you who've maybe heard some of my previous Facebook Live, I still get up really early in the morning. I'm still up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I can get a lot done. And please listen to my old talks of how I was able to achieve that, because I'm not a morning person. But every morning, what I do is I start off with breathing. And breathing really, really grounds me. And I have just different types of breathing practices. And in fact, Dr. Vanessa did a whole talk on breathing. And please take a look at her talk. It was a fantastic talk that she did. So every morning, I start off with breathing. Next, what I do is I actually journal. And journaling is not something that I do. I grew up doing, and to be honest with you, sometimes like I'll do it, consistently for a while, and then I'll stop for a while, and then I'll pick it up again. But now, ever since just all of this chaos that's happening, I've definitely been journaling a lot more regularly. And I'm a person. I've got a lot on my mind. I'm a person that has multiple projects going at once there. So this time of journaling is very special for me. This is where I get to do my brain dump, and this is where I just kind of write everything down. And it really ranges from. Sometimes I'm just writing my to-do list. Sometimes I'm just writing. This is where I get creative, and I think about just different ideas. And sometimes I just mind map there. Most definitely, I always write about my gratitude, and I think that really anchors me. And there's a lot that I'm grateful for right now. But I'll also write down, my fears, or I'll write down things that I'm processing. Something was said to me a certain way. I reacted to it. Why did I react to that? And so this is the time where I get to just process my thoughts. And again, that I love studying the brain, and I've learned that this is something that has really given me a lot of this peace and tranquility when I can write things down. And Yeah, and in maybe future videos, I'll share with you exactly how that happens in the brain. What happens when you tap into your prefrontal cortex or your hippocampus. We'll unpack that in the future there. But just know that journaling, physically writing it out by hand, and as well as allowing your brain to just process all these different thoughts and emotions. It's very, very beneficial for you. Okay, the next thing that I do is pray. And this is actually something that I feel like this is where I can sort of voice out my gratitude. I feel like this is an opportunity where I can tap into the Creator. This is where I can tap into God. And not just focus on myself and not just worry about what I need, but this is an opportunity where I can pray for others, where I can, bless other people. This is where I can be mindful of the pain and the hurts that other people are going through. So this is something that I do multiple times a day, but in the morning, this is a very important time that I don't miss there. And then the last thing I said was play. And playing is something that is important for me. I do something fun every single day. And it's something as simple as, going for a bike ride or playing with the kids there, or even as simple as watching like a funny video on YouTube. This is something that I encourage you to do. Do something fun every single day. And so my daily habit of breathing, journaling, praying, and playing is what keeps me grounded and keeps me level-headed. Now, something that I've been doing recently, and this has probably been about the past month, I'm actually working together with this amazing dynamic team that we're just creating. We're working on a project together right now. And what we do in this group is we do a daily stand-up meeting. And for those who don't know what a stand-up meeting is, it's just a 15-minute check-in. And there's about 10 people in this group. And I meet with them every single morning at 8 a.m. And we just check in with each other. And this has been so, so helpful for me. And it's very simple. The question is, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is awesome, 1 is terrible. So I get a chance to tell people, how I'm doing. And they keep me accountable. I share with them, one thing that I'm grateful for. So that puts me in that right mindset there. I share with them what's one big thing that I want to accomplish today. That keeps me focused there. And I also share with them what's the support that I need. Do I need a support from any of them, or do I need support from some other people? And that clarifies how, for me to accomplish what I want to accomplish, who do I need to lean on to support me? So this daily stand-up meeting, I think we've been doing it for a month straight. That's been super beneficial. And I encourage you to, pick a couple of friends and do that on a daily basis. This is something that this is new to me, but this is something that I've been doing, and I find that incredibly beneficial. So if you have a couple of friends that you can gather, and it's just super simple. And I actually use this. I just met with the whole Brio team. We're all scattered right now because we're not seeing each other every day. And just yesterday we did a Zoom meeting. We all met together, and I just kind of ran through this, like, how are you guys doing on a scale of 1 to 10? And that was good. It was nice to just connect with each other. Okay, so far I've talked about my daily habits. I've talked about an idea of a stand-up meeting, and I just want to share with you something else. One other thing that I'm doing weekly, and this has been incredibly supportive for me. So I'm part of a church community, and every Wednesday night we meet together for a small group. We get together. We sometimes we'll have a meal together, or we'll chat. Right now we're going through a particular book. And so we'll have our discussion discussions there, and that has been incredibly supportive. And I've been doing this for a number of years there, and I encourage you to reach out to a group. Meet with somebody regularly. So I do that Wednesdays, and I try my darndest not to miss that because it's so therapeutic for me. And I'm also a mentor for a group of youth, and that's something that I do every Friday, and I have a blast meeting with these guys. And that's just something that, again, I really look forward to, and it helps keep me grounded there. So I just wanted to, again, share with you some of the things that I'm doing right now for my mental health. And yeah, like I said earlier, these activities keep me grounded. It keeps me more focused. Definitely a lot happier right now in this time of stress there. So to wrap things up, what I covered today was just, what are your current emotions? That's the assessment part. Do you understand, do I understand why I'm feeling these emotions? That's the processing part. And then I ended off with, what can I do today to feel better? And that's my action plan there. I had a lot of fun putting all of this together. I know I covered a lot of information. I hope that was valuable for you. I hope that was helpful for you. And I invite you to please share this with your friends there. And at Brio, we want to be of service to you, to all of you, and we're going to continue to produce, content. And then I welcome your feedback again through the comments there, or email us if you especially have a topic that you want us to talk about. And stay tuned. We're gonna. This is going to be, again, like I said, a 4-part series on my end. And today was the weeding phase. I'm going to guide you through the seeding as well as the feeding and the thriving. So thank you. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.